It's an Ouroboros. We're eating our own tail. It's a time loop. How could they not figure it out? I don't know anything about time travel, but I knew that's what we were going to have to do episodes ago. I just didn't mention it because I thought it was so obvious. I thought, of course that's how it's going to end. But they're geniuses for figuring it out. Wow, look at all those time echoes of our own ship joining us in the wormhole. We're joining together into one timeline. Isn't it beautiful? Wait a minute. There's something else in the wormhole with us. It's a Star Trek the Motion Picture Wormhole Effect asteroid. Oh no! This is the end of Prodigy, Season 2. And what an adventure it has been. If you followed me along this reviewing adventure, you'd know how I felt generally so far about this season. And to just get it all the way up front, I didn't really think this season was as good as Season 1. I may be wrong on that. Many people seem to think it's better. I, on the other hand, think it's worse. Only slightly. You can go into this assuming everything's going to be wrapped up. All the loose ends are going to be tied. Maybe a little bit too conveniently, if I may say so myself. This is Ouroboros, Part 1 and 2. What's an Ouroboros? You know I like to analyze names. What's in a name, after all? Nothing important. A rose by any other name should smell as sweet. Not really. Your name is your first impression. And they say first impression is everything. So which is it? Well, I think names are important, and Ouroboros means that snake eating its own tail. Did you ever see that? You know that image, the snake is like this, and it's in a circle, and it eats its own tail, and the idea is you don't know where one part of the snake begins and the other ends. It's eating itself. What happens when it's done? Does it disappear? Well, in this case, a time loop is like a circle, eating itself. It finishes eating itself, it disappears, and becomes a flat line again. As it always should have been. We're about fixing time loops here. We're about an Ouroboros. Where's the end? Where's the beginning? Does it matter? You see, names do matter. And this whole story is an Ouroboros of its own, if you follow my reasoning. This episode, 2 episodes, it's a 2-parter after all, wastes absolutely no time getting you into the action. We're essentially opening this episode with a briefing to the audience. Here's what we need to do. Here's how we're going to do it. And let's see if we can do it. Asencia has lost her mind completely. You know, when you corner somebody, or you got this animal that's like a kind of like a predator, and the one thing you don't want to do is trap it in a corner where it has nowhere to go, and then it goes into a death throw or a death spiral. This is Asencia's death spiral, and the amount of power and force she's willing to exert now greatly exceeds her own common sense. Okay, so now we're in the phase where we're going to just start destroying everything. Why not? We're getting self-destructive with it. If I'm going down, I'm taking Solum with me, and the Federation, and Starfleet. Screw it. After her worrying defeat in the last 2 episodes, and also that one, what was it, Brink? I don't know. It was the one where they fought the Rev 1. I can't remember all these episode names, but you know what I'm talking about. She suffered one too many a terrible and cringe-inducing defeat. Now she's not going to lose this one. So her wormhole technology that she's been developing this whole season, she's just going to unleash it. And what Asencia has done, essentially, has launched multiple wormholes in the same area around Solum at the same time. Even though her own assistant says, you can't do that. You're going to destabilize subspace. That's very bad if you know your space track. We can't be messing around with the fabric of subspace itself, or else everything that involves subspace becomes impossible. Communications warp to a degree. You see what I mean? There is a space below space that we need to interact with in order to do anything. The space inside of our space, like a lattice work going down, has different properties. Maybe the speed of light is different. Maybe distances between things are different. We need to exploit that for our technology to work. If we really want to get into the weeds about it. Asencia essentially may be destroying this. we got to stop this. Here's the briefing. Here's the sitch. Let's see what we're doing. You've seen anything in your life? Have you seen a movie before? Have you seen a TV show? You would know when the chips are down, our characters have to go in there and do something manually. All of a sudden, remotes don't exist anymore. Throw that remote control over. We got to do it manually. You mean we have to go into the heart of the storm, where Asencia is, and turn off her wormhole device? Manually? Yep, it's the only way it can work. Great. Wesley, Rok, Zero, Magel, Bribble, in a sense, I guess, are one team who's going to be figuring out how it is that we can exploit these wormholes to send the ship back to Terras Lamora safely. Plan 1. Plan 2 here is Gwyn and Dal leading an away team to this wormhole emitting device that Asencia has to manually turn it off, destroy it, neutralize it, and basically defeat Asencia in the grand scheme of things. So we're splitting up, right? Two-parter, Ouroboros, 2 teams. We've done this before. We're doing it again. And which team will be successful? Will they both be successful? One would hope. Although this episode, with spoilers, does end happily. But with a few twists and turns here and there that took me by surprise, made me say, and then made me say, oh, thank God it worked out that way. You'll see what I mean. First off, Gwyn and Dal and Pog and Ilthuran as well, he's there. And Murf, let's not forget Murf, our secret weapon, our ace in the hole, our number 1 guy. We have to go directly to this Asencia secret base area, and may I say, so far this season, it has been very easy to sneak up on Asencia's stuff. It has been very easy to break into these places, and I think the characters even mention it. Wow, it's so easy to come here. Do they have security cameras? I don't think they say that exactly, but that's what I was thinking. What's going on here? It seems like this is the 10th time we've snuck into Asencia's stuff, and it wasn't really a problem. Solum just isn't a highly secure place. And Gwyn hasn't really been there that long, to be honest. And so I wouldn't expect Gwyn to just naturally be able to sneak into these places. Although the Valnacat are slightly psychic, and you'll see how that works later. Very important. Psychic in their own kind of mysterious Valnacat way. Mysterious race that we unfortunately didn't learn that much about, really, so far in these 2 seasons. Hopefully for a season 3 we'll get some more. We need to climb this ladder. Are you serious? You have to climb this ladder? This is crazy. It's that or get shot by Valnacat guys. I'll take my chances with the ladder, which is what Jankom Pog does. We climb up to this ladder. Jankom's working on the machine. We don't know what to do. Uh-oh. There's a cord dingle-dangling. And Dal, heroic Dal, decides to go fast up that ladder, climb up there, and replug this cord back into this socket that will activate, or deactivate, in a sense, this wormhole generating device. Curiously, there's like lightning strikes up there and wormhole rift energy. This whole season has wormhole energy, rift energy, quantum variance, things like that, confusing technobabble or magic babble sometimes it feels like in this season, that's Dal is getting zapped by. And it doesn't kill him, it doesn't hurt him that bad, but I did feel for Dal. I was a little bit scared, and while this was going on, Murf has to distract Drednok. There's a Drednok unit there, and we get this heroic final battle between Murf and Drednok. Thank you. Murf wins, but Murf falls into the machine here with Drednok. And for a moment, I thought they were going to kill Murf. For a moment. This is a season finale. This is when you kill people. But they didn't. Murf survives and takes up a trophy in the form of Drednok's head. A Drednok. And I couldn't help but join in that the exuberance of the moment when Murf was finally able to conquer that Drednok. Murf truly is a powerful and fearsome warrior that would make Worf blush. If he can even blush, I don't know. Worf being Worf. Dal plugs this cord back into the socket. The machine's back. It's working now. And we've deactivated the wormholes. That's one problem gone. Meanwhile, Voyager during this was trying to attack these, I don't know, I want to call them Rev ships. They look like the Rev 1, Rev 12, I don't know. These Revs, these giant crab claw looking aquatic, prismatic, angular monstrosities that I hate. And I just want to see them get destroyed. The Voyager is trying to destroy them. Various bombing runs. You know how it works. You've seen this before. I've seen this before, and I've been bored by it before. In terms of ship-on-ship combat in space, this is some of the most lackluster and underwhelming I've seen in a long time. In fact, this season has done it better before. In fact, right? Very weird, but this is a very boring outing for the ship Voyager in terms of defeating enemy ships. We just torpedo them a few times, trying to get them to stop from going through these wormholes, which lead to Federation worlds, by the way. Uh-oh. It does eventually work when these portals shut off, and it appears that when the portals close, they cut these ships in half, which was awesome. But it could have been more awesome. I felt it was getting visually lost in the cacophony here. Maybe that's just me. So there's our ships defeated, our wormholes closed. What about Asencia? This will be our final battle. Asencia versus Gwyn. And it seemed like the overarching story of these two seasons has actually been about Gwyn, which I couldn't really put together until I finally saw the climax here. I finally got it now. Okay, so Gwyn is kind of like the main character here, in a sense, although it is an ensemble cast, as it should be in Star Trek, I believe. Gwyn has lost control of this heirloom. If you don't know, this was a factor in Season 1. These Valnakat people sometimes have golden heirlooms, like a jewelry on their body, that they can control with their mind and turn it into like a sword, say, or maybe a shield. Gwyn has lost her heirloom to Asencia previously. Asencia is controlling her heirloom, I assume, and Gwyn's own heirloom, as she has this golden heirloom sword. So, what are you going to do? What do you bring to a sword fight? A stick? Asencia tries to defend herself with a stick. Doesn't work. And we have what ensues here is a repetitive sequence of Asencia and Gwyn falling off a level of this wormhole device to a lower level, and then falling off again to another lower level, and then falling off again. We fall like 3 times each, and somehow we didn't break every bone in our bodies. These Valnakat are tough. If they were human, or if I was there, I think I'd maybe fall a foot, maybe like 4 foot drop, and break both of my legs and my head and my arm, probably, because I'm brittle that way. But these characters seem to be withstanding an awful lot, let me tell you, and it's bordering on unbelievability. However, the way it ends, this battle between Asencia and Gwyn, it subverted what I was thinking was going to happen in a good way. Gwyn is doing one of these on the heirloom, trying to prevent it from slicing into her head, making one wonder why Asencia didn't use psychic Valnakat powers to change the shape of it, to go around Gwyn's hands and then slice her twice like that. Another thing with this season, an overarching problem with this season is sometimes things work, sometimes they don't. We have special powers here, and now we don't. The loom could stop time, now they don't. The loom could go through walls, now they don't. Wesley used to be able to make things disappear by thinking about it. Now he doesn't. I don't know. Anyway, why did Asencia not just liquefy the heirloom? So Gwyn went, whoa, what happened? And then solidify it again, killing Gwyn. That's what I would have done if I was Asencia. But I'm not Asencia, and she didn't do that. Instead, Ilthuran appears and says, like, my will is yours, and kind of like chants like a Valnakat, a mantra, to allow the heirloom to shift onto Gwyn, and I'm enjoying it. I'm there with it. I'm on the ball with what's happening, even though I don't fully understand this Valnakat stuff. What are we doing to transfer these heirlooms? I don't know. And then all the other people who from Solum who were standing up to Asencia, and once Asencia lost control of the population that way, she's already kind of lost. This is just the final nail in the coffin. Asencia actually lost a long time ago, if we think about it honestly, if we think about it strategically. But all these people give Gwyn, like, their will. And she kind of, like, she's overflowing with this psychic power, and she turns into Super Gwyn, and her eyes are glowing, and she gets control of the heirloom. And you think that, like, if we're going to kill Asencia, we would drop her off a cliff or have her die in an explosion. That's how you usually get away with it in these shows. Another way, which they wouldn't do, is have Asencia get stabbed. I wouldn't have that in this show either. But they come up with this different way. And instead, what happens is Gwyn just stands there, looks at Asencia, and then Asencia loses 100% of her psychic Valnicat powers. And she turns off like a light bulb. So, whoa. And her face like kind of wrinkles up a little bit. She loses her pale blue luster. It gives way to an ashen gray, and her eyes get very dark. And she just kind of falls down there, and everybody sees it, and this is over. And we kind of like, it's symbolically, we know this is the end of Asencia. She just turns off, like I said, like a light bulb. It's cooler than you think it is on repeat viewings. It's interesting. I've never really seen a villain just psychically die like that. Like, they've lost so hard that they've given up on themselves, and then just kaboom, and all the light drains out of their body, and then they just fall down. Asencia is still alive. She gets carried away by various Valnicat later, and it was interesting to me. It was very different. I wasn't expecting it. Like I said, you can subvert expectations by saying 2 + 2 is 3, or you can subvert expectations by having something cool happen that you didn't expect, that you said, I should have thought of that. That was kind of unique, and it's something I'll never forget. So the death of Asencia, to me, was satisfying. Asencia herself, outside of being a mustache-twirling villain, wasn't really that much in the way of being interesting. It's just joining the pantheon, the long list of villains that aren't really going to matter 2 seconds after this is done. Although I love the performance, I love just the reveling in the deliciousness of the scenes with Asencia, and for me, that was enough. For you, it might not have been. You may have been saying, wow, that villain sucked. I wish we got a little bit more. And we're not getting a little bit more, because Ouroboros Part 1 is done. Wait, what? Part 1's over? What do you mean? We defeated Asencia and we saved the timeline, didn't we? Not quite. Remember the final episode of Discovery Season 5? When we got like halfway through and it's like, wait, we're done? What's next? This episode does remind me a lot of Discovery Season 5 final episode. And you'll see that as we go along. Because we have one moment where Part 1 is done, we defeat Asencia. Wait a minute, what's next? Ouroboros Part 2. Halfway through that, we have another change-up. Not to spoil it, unless you've seen it. I don't want to be spoiling my own review. Here's Ouroboros Part 2. The snake eating its own tail. We're late, right? In the background, you may have forgotten about it. I kind of did. We're actually fighting the loom. The bigger looming threat in the background here are the loom. It wasn't just Asencia. We have to defeat the loom and put the protostar back where it belongs. In Tars Lamora. In the past, in Season 1. We're trying to get the ship to go back to Episode 1 of Season 1, in a sense. It's kind of cute when you put it that way. As is Murf. Cute. Murf is cute, always. Of course. That being said, Wesley basically admits that this is not part of my plan. What do you mean? We're late. I thought we had enough time to do this. We didn't. And saying that we're late is it just felt like such a cop-out to me. I can't think of any other finale in New Trek where we couldn't just be late to add drama to the experience. Like, wait a minute. We need to fight the loom. How do we get them to fight the loom? Well, they were late. That's it. You guys were late. You should have done this earlier, and then the loom wouldn't be here by now. That's it? That's what you came up with? That's what they came up with. You could add that into any season. Just say, we got here late. And now we have to have drama, action, consequence, tragedy, you know, the whole bit, as you do in a TV show, which this is, unfortunately. Or fortunately. I don't want this to happen in real life. Do I? Sometimes the consequences can outweigh the fun you have along the way. But for me, I want to go fast, and I wouldn't mind having a proto drive in this thing. If anybody's listening, maybe we can refit the Dingwall to get the protostar, like proto drive type thing in here. That'd be freaking mega cool. If anyone's listening, you're not listening. Anyway, we need to go through this wormhole that we created. The other team during Ouroboros Part 1, the Wesley, Rok, and Majel magic team, where it feels very, very close to magic. You're combining Wesley, who already feels like a wizard, with our characters who are discussing technobabble of the absolute highest order. This is technobabble like you've never seen it before. Quantum variants, wormholes, timelines. All these wormholes lead to Tars Lamora, but there's this one that doesn't, and oh, of course, that's the one we need to make. I predicted that forever ago. I always thought that's how it was going to end. We need to create a wormhole that would originally lead Chakotay to get the protostar lost in Tars Lamora to begin with. Like, we need to go have Chakotay of the past take the protostar through that wormhole above Solum, land on Solum, and then put the protostar back into the wormhole without him on it, and then have it go to Tars Lamora. We created the original wormhole. Just like we were the ones who saved Chakotay, we're now the ones who created the wormhole that started this whole mess to begin with. It's an Ouroboros. We're eating our own tail. It's a time loop. How could they not figure it out? I don't know anything about time travel, but I knew that's what we were going to have to do episodes ago. I just didn't mention it because I thought it was so obvious. I thought, of course that's how it's going to end. But they're geniuses for figuring it out. Even though they had to use what amounts to magic and absolute top grade technobabble here, as is in keeping with Voyager. I should add, Voyager often saved the day with technobabble. Sadly, like I said before, strategy should win the battle, not technology or science that we invented yesterday. Okay, how about that? Or a technobabble plan that we invented 5 minutes ago. That's how we created this wormhole. We had to use this rift energy or whatever to stabilize one of Asencia's wormholes into a wormhole that will lead back in time so that Chakotay will take the protostar in the past through it to go to future bad timeline Solum. You know the whole bit. That's the one we have to go through now. Our science team from Part A created it. But now it's loaded with loom. Uh-oh, we've rung the dinner bell. And now the loom are here because we're late and we should have done it earlier. You're telling me we have to fly the protostar through that when it's crawling with loom? Well, Chakotay is on board, and we're going to. The protostar kids are going with Chakotay, and we're going to fly the protostar through that loom-infested wormhole, the loom hole, and Voyager is going to be following us. Why? We're going to have to beam out at the last minute. We're doing a last-minute beam out here. Dal says, what are you going to do, eject? No, Dal. We're going to beam out. The Voyager will follow. And chef's kiss, we actually have the cetacean ops navigating the ship. It's too complicated for our silly, flat, plain brains to fly through the wormhole with the loom inside it. We actually command, we give the order to cetacean ops to navigate through the wormhole in a whale's, what I assume is 3D brain for going up and down, all these different axes. Doing what a computer couldn't do, cetacean ops will do. And we, for the first time, we see how cetacean ops navigates a ship. The whale swims through a holographic tube of LCARS displays and is like looking around at it, and what I assume is making eye contact with things and pressing holographic buttons. It was really sick, and it's been so long since cetacean ops has been a thing. It's been since before TNG, technically, in the concept phase of TNG, we were looking at this cetacean ops stuff, and now we're seeing cetacean ops navigate a ship. It happened. Prodigy Season 2, it happened. I was there. You were there. We saw it. That's cetacean ops. That's how it's supposed to work. It was all very cool and all that, but what's going to happen to Hologram Janeway? We need to put the protostar back on Tars Lamora exactly as we found it. What that means is that Chakotay can't be there. The rest of the crew can't be there. Hologram Janeway has to be there, but it has to have no memories of the kids. Surprise, surprise, Voyager's following us. EMH is an enormous hologram program. Imagine how complicated this program is and how hard it is to store. If anyone's going to know how to store a huge program, it's EMH. EMH chimes in and says, not to worry, we can store your program right here. Remember at the end of Prodigy Season 1, where we lost Hologram Janeway? Now we're saving Hologram Janeway. Isn't that cool how it reflects? Right? It rhymes with it, but it's also inverted. Very cool. So now we're all set to basically slingshot this protostar back into the past, back to its own Tars Lamora timeline. Everybody beams out, but Dal says, you know what? The badge I found, remember that? So long ago in episode 1. Who left that badge on the floor? Were they planning this that long ago? Dal, you see, earlier on in this two-parter, remembers to put the old badge on. The old protostar style badge, which I think is a little bit cooler than the newer ones that they had in this season. He remembers to take it. 1 minute before I beam out, wait. And he remembers he takes it off and puts it on the floor where it was. And then it cuts to episode 1 from season 1. And I mean it's okay to admit it. I was getting a little misty-eyed watching it. It's, you know, there's a few moments in New Trek, you know, that really got me. This is one of them. We see a beautiful flashback to everything that's happened up to this point. We see Rok-Tahk touch that badge, activate the protostar. We see it there in silence in Tars Lamora, just how it was so long ago, and it did get to me. It was really something. The traveling through the wormhole was beautiful. Seeing the ghosts of other timeline versions of ourselves merging together, just the light show, the blues, the yellows. It was so beautiful. It was beautiful in visual and in theme and in story, and everything just linked together. And Dal left that badge there. Our characters beam back to the Voyager, and Gwyn's armband kind of turns off, and she doesn't need it anymore. And we're safe. Yay. We're fast forwarding, I don't know, days, months, weeks, but our characters are back on Earth, and that's the end of Temporal Mechanics 101. Throw it away. You'll never need to see it anymore, because now we're doing the next book in Temporal Mechanics, 102 or whatever it was, I don't know. Gotcha. Another gotcha is when EMH is talking about, he's like finishing his holo novel, and there's this guy on the bed, and in medbay, in what I assume is Voyager, and he says, "This is the end." And then you can see the guy in the bed back behind him go, "Huh? Oh, not for you. This is the end for my new holo novel." Concentrated EMH in this season. I'm loving it. Maybe you aren't, I don't know. But the Doctor, for me, was doing great this season. We see Chakotay become captain of the Voyager. He puts on that awful-looking new outfit. The new uniforms here is, ugh. Well, it was the other uniforms we've been seeing so far, but for him, it's new. Not really my thing. It's not my taste. And we see Admiral Janeway take that early retirement that she was talking about long ago. Everything seems fine. Everything seems hunky-dory. What could go wrong? Uh-oh. Picard Season 1 starts. Are you still there? You didn't tune out? Yeah. We're getting back into Picard Season 1 now. Dang it. And we're essentially in that short trek, Children of Mars, I think it was called, that first introduced what would be the storyline for Star Trek Picard, where Mars was attacked by their own synths. I don't really want to remember why exactly, but that's what happened in Picard Season 1. That's how it began. That's its impetus. And we see Chakotay, sullen, crestfallen, comes to talk to a retired Janeway and say, "Listen, we're being called back. We have to go back into action here. We're reactivating everyone who is retired because we lost so many synths now. We were banning synths, and we lost synth crew members, androids as we used to call them. And now Picard season 1 is beginning. Wesley comes back home to see his mom, which I should do soon, probably, if I were smart. But he sees Jack Crusher, right, from Picard season 3. Beverly, which I wish she kept this hair for season 3 of Picard. It looks really cool. Beverly takes Wesley in the other room. I want you to, there's someone you should see here. I want you to meet your brother. And Wesley meets a 4-year-old Jack Crusher. We don't see Jack Crusher as a baby, nor do we need to get the picture, but that's what happens. So what we're doing here is not just Picard season 1, but Picard season 3. We're showing in the last section of this episode how we kind of move forward into the Picard era with the touchstone being an attack on Mars. Why do we need to kind of sour Prodigy season 2 final episode with the nasty stuff from Picard season 1? Isn't that weird? Does anyone else think that's weird? Anyway, we see Jellicoe advising the Admiralty, saying, listen, and they got those outfits that they kind of had from Picard season 1 flashbacks, which I thought were kind of cool. And he says, we don't even have enough comm badges to update half the fleet. So now we know why we had the kind of comm badge inconsistency. We don't have enough comm badges. I don't believe you. How hard can it be to just roll up 5 million comm badges off the assembly line? How hard is it to make them? I don't know. But I assume Starfleet has figured this out by now. But you see Admiral Jellicoe there with the old Voyager style badge on and the different outfit. And it's like, oh, here we go. Here's Picard season 1. Now Starfleet, in the background, this whole season has been complaining about being spread thin. Romulan evacuation is spreading us thin. Yada, yada, yada. Some other things that were going on at this time in the late 2300s. And now we have the Mars attack. Now what? The Federation has asked Starfleet to scale back operations and focus on non-exploration, but defending on the assets we do have. Probably smart. It probably wasn't smart to just roll these synths out this fast and hope nothing would go wrong, as it just did, leading to Picard season 1, which was very bad for everybody, including me. But what are our characters going to do? We're not really in Starfleet. We're just cadets. Well, we've been upgraded. We've been upgraded to, like, I don't know, an acting ensign, and we got pips. And this is where the episode kind of goes off into La La Land a little bit. Remember when I said things wrap up really conveniently? Maybe a little bit too conveniently? We've wrapped up nearly every single plot thread here, save for Dal's origins. I still don't really know who created Dal. Maybe that's a season 3 thing if we get season 3. But we're not worried about who created Dal. We're worried about who created this new protostar. There's a new protostar class ship, the U.S.S. What's it called? The U.S.S. Prodigy. So therefore, Star Trek can continue as Star Trek Prodigy. We'll know it's another ship name show. Right? Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Voyager, Star Trek Prodigy. Surprise, surprise. And our characters have been given pips. They're what I assume to be acting ensigns. And this new state-of-the-art protostar-powered U.S.S. Prodigy the Starfleet built, according to Chakotay and Janeway standing there, is now officially useless for anything because we're not exploring anymore. This ship can only explore, and therefore, you can have it. What? We're giving away. This ship came right off the lot. The USS Prodigy. State of the art. Top of the line. You kids who I don't think have finished through your a cadet program even at the academy, you guys can have it. And they get on that ship, and Chakotay says, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's a shame Starfleet is decommissioning it. Imagine if it was stolen. So we're just going to let these kids actually take the ship. They stole the protostar at first. That was bad. It worked out good accidentally. They stole the Infinity. That was bad. It worked out good accidentally. And now we're stealing a ship on purpose. And we're just going to hope that it works out for the better. We're just going to rely on luck, right? Luck is now a factor in Star Trek, right? You guys can have the ship, and you can also have these new uniforms. It wouldn't be New Trek unless we got new uniforms. I should go back and count how many New Trek seasons did not introduce a new uniform. That might be interesting to do. Anyway, our characters are on this ship, and remember when Dal saw his future and saw Gwyn taking the chair? There's two chairs. There's two chairs right beside each other. And they're like, it's kind of like a little love seat. And it's, the seats are actually connected. on the U.S.S. Prodigy has like two little captain's chairs. One for the number one and one for the captain joined together. It was just, I don't know. For me, that was the stupidest looking chair. That was the stupidest looking thing I've ever seen. Put the captain's chair in the middle, in the back. Have the first officer on the captain's right in a chair beside them, turned in that way a little bit, just like in TNG, and then have one on the left turned in a little bit for mission specialists or whoever wants to sit there. That's what you do. We've already done it. We don't need to have this bizarre two-seater, two-person chair melded together. It looks really stupid. I don't know. But something's telling me this isn't the first time we've seen a two-seater. I don't know. You tell me. Anyway, the episode ends, and Gwyn takes the center seat, or side seat for the captain, and basically just calls it. And I was hoping that Gwyn would give Dal a nod, like that. Do you want to call it, Dal? Because they're going to activate proto-warp. And I was hoping Gwyn would do it, and Dal would say, go fast, one last time, but that's not what happens. Gwyn steals the show. Dal was supposed to say, go fast one last time, which did not happen, which was a major bummer for me. And it was also weird that, ultimately, it came down to Dal's choice. Dal, originally, when he saw his future, thought that he wasn't going to be captain, because he wasn't captain material, or something happened, or he was going to die, or had to sacrifice it for some reason. But no, he just decided to let Gwyn be the captain. I don't really see why exactly. But anyway, Gwyn is a lot less of a loose cannon, so have that going for her as captain. So, I guess it didn't work out all bad. But I really wanted to see Captain Dal. The Prodigy proto-warps away and ends Star Trek Prodigy as we know it, because we don't know if there's going to be a Season 3. Now, as I watched this, I had formulated an alternate idea for how to end this episode. And if I'm honest with you, I had inklings of how this could end before I actually got to the end, and I was contemplating a good way to end this. If we had decided that this would be the final season, we didn't, because we clearly cleaned our plate and allowed a setup for a brand new season to occur in the status quo, unfortunately. All our characters are back on the U.S.S. Prodigy, not the U.S.S. Protostar, wink wink, and we're just ready for a new adventure, just like we were way back when. Status quo endings. I thought, whoa. Let's back up a little bit. Here's what I was thinking for the ending of the season. We want to have Star Trek Prodigy continue as a show with kids on an adventure. How long can we do that with these characters before it's not believable? In my mind, we passed that point sometime in Season 2. We had to steal the Protostar, then we had to steal the Infinity, and now we're getting a free ship. I just don't believe it. Here's what I would do. This episode ended with, the attack on Mars. Okay? Children of Mars introduced us to new characters in that short trek and showed it from their perspective what happened when Mars was attacked. Okay. Leave the ending as it is so far when we get up to the Mars attack. Show our characters reacting to it. Oh no, Mars has been attacked. What now? Oh, we're all being activated. All of our characters are activated into acting ensigns to serve on various ships to make up for the loss of synth crew. That's what I would do. So that's how we get our pips. We don't get our pips from some convenient joke from Chakotay and Janeway. That's not what happens. We get our pips because we are now acting ensigns, because we need every person we can possibly get on every starship we can get in Starfleet. There's a sensible reason to do that. It's built into the episode already, so why not use it? All of our characters go to various ships. We'll say, I don't know, someone will end up on Voyager with Captain Chakotay, and Dal, you're here, Gwyn, you're here, whatever. We just see your characters go off in their separate ways. And then we have a flash forward. The flash forward is 14 years at the end of Picard Season 3. And we see where our characters were standing on Earth. We now see new characters standing on Earth. And the last 15 minutes is from their point of view, kind of like how in Children of Mars, the point of view was these kids on Mars experiencing the Mars attacks. We're now seeing kids on Earth at Starfleet who were cadets now experiencing the battle over Earth with the fleet formation and the Borg Queen. So we see the culmination of the battle and the conclusion, and we won, and we're all cheering. A Starfleet shuttle lands in front of these kids, and they're getting out to go back into the academy to do something. And the hatch opens up, and Dal steps out. Lieutenant Dal steps out. It's been 14 years. Older Dal steps out and sees these kids where he was standing. And he flashes back in his mind to when he was standing there and the Mars attack happened. And he sees them, these people, flash into the people they were. And they kind of do like a match cut. And the suggestion is that these are the kids for Prodigy Season 3. This is the new adventure. Right? Making it make sense. Because you can't stay a child forever. And all of our characters are old now. 14 years older. We're lieutenants, lieutenant commanders, chiefs of this, chiefs of that, officers here and there. And we just see Dal kind of longingly look at them and then smile and then say, like, we did it. We beat the Borg guys controlling those ships. We did it. Yay! And then he just walks off into the academy, and we see him go up the stairs off into the distance. And I think that would be like a sensible ending. We got our characters the future they wanted, and we kind of set up a non-status quo ending in that we don't have these same kids going on the same adventure, but we're suggesting that new kids could go on a new adventure, which is possible. What's not possible is the same kids stealing ships hundreds of times and getting away with it just out of sheer luck. There you go. There's my ending. Now, what's the problems with this season? This is going to turn into more like a retrospective on the season as a whole. We're beyond the point where we're just reviewing Ouroboros Part 1 and Part 2. We're reviewing the season now, and I'll get this out of the way quick. This season relies on a lot of luck. This season relies on a lot of magic. This season has a lot of priors that you're asked to accept. If you don't know how this works, when I ask you to suspend your disbelief, what's called suspension of disbelief, maybe you've heard of it, I have to work really hard to make sure you buy the first thing. I'm going to make a big ask. The big ask is that I'm asking you to believe that A, faster than light travel is possible, and B, there's lots of habitable planets everywhere with humanoid-type aliens on them. Can you believe those two things? If no, you can't watch Star Trek. If yes, you can watch Star Trek. Now, I've got you on board for that. I'm going to make a little bit of a smaller ask. Can you believe in transporters? Okay. Can you believe in some characters being psychic? Smaller asks. Can you believe that? Yes? Okay, we can continue watching Star Trek. We can continue. And this goes on down the list until we get smaller and smaller asks. But if you're not careful, I may have mentioned this before, you can flub a small ask. You can flub another one, and not enough people buy it. And that goes away. And then now we're back to another ask, the one behind it. Okay, can you believe Wesley has magic powers? Can you really believe that? Does it comport with the reality of Star Trek? If you said no, okay, now we have to go backwards. Did you believe in the loom? Did you believe that they were real? No? Okay, now I have to go backwards. Back to another one. Can you believe that these kids can get away with stealing the Infinity and the Protostar, and it works out magically perfectly both times? Can't believe that? No, okay, now we're going back another one. Now it's like, can you believe the Protostar drive works? Do you believe the Proto drive works? I don't know. You see, I make the big ask, I get you to believe it, but if I keep flubbing the little ones, it goes backwards. It inverts itself. And eventually, say Star Trek goes on for another 30 years, you may have audience members starting to not believe in faster than light travel. If you've done that, you've ended Star Trek. And for me, in this season, I was starting to not believe in Wesley. Like, do we really have a wizard? Do we really have a space-time thought wizard here who can just do anything, really? What are his limitations? What is he afraid of? What humbles him? Can we really have Gwyn be displaced out of time and be in a quantum superposition with all other timelines because of some accident in time? And we put a band on her arm to stabilize her quantum signature so that she can live now even though she shouldn't be because we deleted her from the timeline. Can I believe that? For me, the hardest thing to believe in Prodigy Season 2, especially after Prodigy Season 1, is that these kids can steal a ship. It just happens to work out fine. They can steal the Infinity. It happens to work out fine. And then they can get away with a free ship from Starfleet to people who aren't really trained. They've proven themselves in battle on numerous occasions, but that's not the same as training. That's not the same as doctrine. That's not the same as terminology. And we let them take it. Can I believe that? My answer, unfortunately, is no. And that's the big sticking point with Prodigy here. That's why I prefer Season 1. I think it's better. Now, the overarching problem and season finale in Prodigy Season 1 was not as good as it was in Prodigy Season 2. I didn't like the idea again of AI taking over these ships and destroying everything, and that was the finale, and a big pew 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 battle at the end. That sucked in Prodigy Season 1. Better finale here, not as good a season. That's just how I feel. If I look back at the episodes from Season 1, it's got a lot more ups and a lot more downs. Season 2, it's half and half. They're both good. I thoroughly enjoyed both. But Season 2 is not as good, and it's flubbing some small asks. I just don't believe these kids could steal these ships and get away with it. I don't believe that Dal could pull Magell into the traveler room on that traveler planet when he wasn't supposed to, and then have it work out just because it did. I didn't believe that. I could not believe that Wesley somehow didn't tell the kids to specifically stay together literally. We thought you meant it in the spiritual sense. And then Wesley didn't think, in his infinite wisdom, didn't think to say literally. I'm not believing it. Another looming threat for this season was the loom. First they can go through walls, then they don't. First they can stop time, then they don't. You've got an enemy that can stop time. Think about how cool a final battle you could make. We all have to wear those armbands. We have to turn them on at the right time. Save the day. What if the loom were on Solum when we were fighting Asencia? Wouldn't that have been cool? Didn't happen. Because we kind of flubbed the loom. We're flubbing the small asks. Let's not let it retroactively make us question the big asks that we all accepted so long ago when we became Star Trek fans, eh? Let's not let it get that bad if Star Trek is to continue for the next 30 years or so. So those are my big thoughts on Prodigy Season 2, and also my little thoughts on Ouroboros Part 1 and 2. Truly, the snake did eat its own tail. It deleted itself. We closed the loop, and now we're in a straight line. The ship is back on Tars Lamora. Gwyn is no longer displaced in time, and we've stopped Asencia. What else is left to do? Well, I've evidently lived through Picard Season 1. Well, in a way, I'm glad again it ends here, I guess. Our characters get awful looking new outfits. The uniforms, we're taking the original Prodigy Season 1 really slick Protostar outfits we had for that, and just adding a bunch of lines and a bunch of colors, and Division color is good, extra lines bad. I have my own philosophy about design, one of which is that you want to be able to have as few lines as possible. More lines, more complexity, more confusion. Less lines, less confusion. It draws the eye in a little bit better. Keep it simple. 2 colors, maybe 3. Not many lines. That's a win. You complicated it up. It calls to mind Uhura's cadet outfit from Strange New World Season 1. Ugh. Don't make me think about that. That was Ouroboros Part 1 and 2. Musically, at the very beginning, when we're going on our mission, we have a thrumming, powerful, call to action, battle march that I thought was very interesting. And then on the back end, at the end of Episode 2, Part 2, we have a heartwarming rendition of the overall Prodigy theme when we're watching this flashback. I could have used one more original theme, a little bit more incidental music in the center, a unique battle theme for when we're fighting Asencia. Would have been really cool, but we didn't get it. Sadly, on the music, we're drawing even. Visually, it was very cool in Part 2 going through the wormhole. How bright it was, how everything looked. It was wonderful seeing the flashback, seeing all the old episodes we remember. In terms of Solum always looked cool, but it didn't really come off as extremely original as it once did. We didn't see enough of the town. We didn't see enough of the people. I didn't see enough of the small details in Solum. I didn't see enough of the fear in people's eyes as this was going on with Asencia. The ships, ugly. Voyager's attack on the ship, boring. Voyager, ugly. Overall, visually, it's another middling. Thematically, this is not an episode that focuses on its own themes. This is an episode that focuses on tying up all the loose ends and telling you it was about the journey. It was about these characters becoming adults. Unfortunately, they never really did, but it's about them becoming comfortable in their own skin, comfortable in being the people that they want to be outside of Tars Lamora. It's about the big picture thematically. So I can forgive it for not having its own specific theme that it was hammering home. This is a season or perhaps series ender. And in that regard, thematically, it ties up a lot of loose ends. And it ends a lot of characters' arcs. That was very good in terms of theme. Now, it's kind of broaching into the realm of plot, because our plot works out so conveniently and so without a hitch that it made me wonder. It felt a little bit not real. Oh wow, we defeated Asencia. That was easy. The one cool bit was when she turned off like a light bulb. And then, oh wow, we were too late. We couldn't stop the loom. Oh, we can just sail through the wormhole anyway. That's essentially what happened here. So if we take it from a point A to a point B, we need to turn off Asencia's wormhole generator. And we need to figure out how to create a wormhole back to Solum in time. We create the wormhole, we turn off the wormhole generator, we defeat Asencia, and we just get past the loom. And then, like in Discovery Season 5, the last episode, we wrap things up early, and then we show the beginning of the next adventure, right? We did it with a flash forward in Season 5, and we're doing it, in a sense, another flash forward here, but we're flash forwarding only what I assume is a few years or months into the unfortunate realm of Picard. And in terms of how the plot flows, I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel disjointed, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't biased against Picard Season 1. That, for me, soured the ending a little bit. With all that out of the way, I'm going to have to go with a little bit better than average 5.5 for Ouroboros Part 1 and Part 2. I've seen a lot better season finales, and I've seen a lot better final battles. I've seen a lot better final battles in Prodigy Season 2 that could have been season enders for me. And this one, not so much. Like I said, my ending, I think, would have been a lot cooler, but I cannot review these things. What I wanted, I have to review these things based on what I got, just to be fair with you. And what I got was a 5.5. I'm sorry. Coming up in the break period before we start Lower Decks final season, Season 5, I'm going to be going back. I'm going to be retooling some graphical things. I'm going to try to... This is outside the realm of this channel. We're breaking the fourth wall here. I'm going to be porting... I'm going to try to port the model of the Dingwall into a new version of my 3D rendering program. It should be complicated, but the results should be worth it. So we're going to be ending up having more Murf's design room. That might be cool if you want some new insights into how this ship exactly is designed. We're going to be having, of course, the numerical value for each episode this season, and hopefully some other surprise things you weren't expecting. I'm Lieutenant Mark, and I'm going to see you soon. Don't know exactly when, because now we're in the off season, and I'm going to see you next time I see you. Go fast.